This is the Comedy Kiosk, podcast by Monday and Munoz. Please welcome Monday and Munoz.
Hello and welcome to the Comedy Kiosk, a podcast in which we discuss news, opinions and ideas about comedy. My name is Igor Monday.
And I'm David Munoz.
And today we have decided to talk about pre-show rituals, as in how do we prepare for a show? What's the maybe best right or wrong way to get yourself in the mood, in the zone? What have we noticed or learned about some other comics we worked with? Are there some things that can help you with this, to relax you, to focus you, to, make you wittier, edgier on stage, anything like this? But before we get into that topic, if you want to help us and support us, please like us on all the social media where you can find us. So just look for The Comedy Kiosk on basically Instagram, Twitter, Facebook. You can support us on Patreon if you want to donate to us as well. And you can always leave a comment or a question, topic we can discuss, or in any other way, let us know that we can count on you, our dear listeners and community.
Yay!
So let's start the podcast proper. Let's start with us then, I think, since we also have been performing for quite a while now and we have performed in many different places. I don't know, do you keep count of the places you performed in?
No, not really. I mean, we did that for in an early episode of the podcast where you asked me, we had to quiz each other at the very beginning. It was how many shows that I'd done. It was the first time I actually had to sit down and start thinking, and then you corrected me later on because you mentioned a couple, and I was like, oh crap, yeah, I forgot those places. So no, I do not keep a track of how many shows I've done, nor what venues I've done, or different locations, or... For me, I think the easiest would be cities, but I still have to think about it. I don't know off the top of my head. I haven't purposefully counted it and kept track.
Well, I know approximately, not of course to the last bar or an open mic that I just attended for 10 minutes or something like this, but I know approximately how many places I performed in. I'm not sure how many shows, to be honest. I could probably just create some kind of formula, 2 shows a week for this many years. But then sometimes it was, 2 weeks of performing every day when I'm on tour. Sometimes it was some holidays or something, not performing at all. So I don't know, but definitely we have years and years of experience. Let's call it like that, which means that at this point, I don't know how is it for you, but at this point, I'm kind of more or less always ready to perform. You know what I mean? There were shows where I show up to the show as an organizer, for example, with the organization I'm running, and a comedian just backs out, cannot make it, something, and I just, okay, I'm next. So I go on stage and perform. I wasn't supposed to be in that show or something like this. So, I don't think that now I need, maybe it's due to, let's say, strong catalog of material that I accumulated, so I can just tell any old jokes and they'll work if the audience hasn't heard it before. Or maybe it's because just, this kind of, again, confidence due to experience or something. I've done it 1,000 times. I can do it 1,001st as well. Yeah. But when it's just a regular, let's say, Friday feature show, then no problem. If it's some bigger show and it's, huge crowd, new room, big expectations, something like this, then of course I can also get a bit jittery and I need some time to prepare myself mentally, sometimes even physically. So let's start with you then. What's your ritual? Do you have any? How do you get ready for the show? Maybe even earlier in the day or in the week, if you start thinking about the set, about the jokes, when do you actually select the jokes you're going to do? When do you turn it separate jokes into a set? What do you do exactly before the show? All of this. Tell us everything.
Wow. Okay, that's a lot. And it's changed, of course, over time, and it depends on certain factors. But overall, the way I'd like to do it, if it's running perfectly, that means, let's say I have a show on Friday, I would like to actually kind of think about the set that I'm going to do a few days before, a couple of days before, think about the set, kind of run it through in my head. I used to really like, then having a couple of drinks at home, maybe a couple of wines or beers or something like that, and kind of run through the set while I'm on the balcony, kind of talk it through. Usually that's when I come up with more tags or more ideas or ways of saying it, because it catches me as funny. I'm just kind of playing with it. I'm improvising.
Sorry, do you pass the bucket to your neighbors on the balconies when you finish, or is it like a free free performance.
It's a free show.
Free of
They
charge.
get a free show. Yeah. Well, as long as they give feedback, constructive
So
feedback.
I see. So it's like an open training kind of thing.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's a preview show, as they call it, previews.
Oh, right.
So,
right. Yeah.
So I kind of I used to run through it like that, and then I would kind of like plan it out, the beats in my head. So it's like, okay, it's this bit followed by that bit. Can't forget that bit, and that's after that. That's when I write it down, the notes. And I write down the ideas enough that I understand what I'm looking at. So it's like a list. And then maybe the night before, practice it a little bit. And then I would go on the day, of course, just before the show, I would be looking at the list and just kind of running through. And I kind of bounce around. So I might think about this bit and then I think about another bit. So I think of them differently at different stages of the story. Because I think if you can do each stage individually, even if it doesn't make sense, like, because it's a proper story, but even if you can run like, okay, that section here, and you can do those few lines, another section in a totally different spot, and those few lines, then I think you have it pretty much in your brain the way it should be. You can bounce around on it. So that's probably the way I would prepare a set. It's the way I used to do it. Now, I don't know. I think I still do it with new material when it's new stuff. When it's old stuff, I just look in the book and go, okay, that one, and I'll do that. But when it's new stuff, I still sort of do that, yeah. I like to give it a few days before and slowly build up each day, do something a little bit with it, and then... But I try also not to overdo it. Because I think sometimes also if you over-memorize it way too strictly, I think it ends up becoming... It's dead on arrival. The passion's gone.
And do you like run through your script of the joke at home or maybe at the club when you reach it before it's your time to go on stage and stuff? Because I've seen people, like they go into the hallway or green room if there is one, or some kind of, fire exit or somewhere where they can be, alone, walk in the circle and basically, recite their set just to kind of learn each word, each phrase, each pause, this kind of stuff.
Yeah, not necessarily the pause, but it's like what I do at the balcony. I'm just running.
Oh, this is your balcony. I see.
Yeah, this is my balcony.
Not at the club, not before the show, but in advance.
Well, sort of. Yeah.
When you're just let's say, writing the joke, preparing the joke to be told.
That's what I'm doing it. Yeah, and I'm playing with it at the club. I'll probably will go through it again while I'm sitting down. I'm just looking at those notes. And that's what those written words, those list of words. That's what I will generally use, and I'll run through it before, but also depends, and this is another thing as well, it depends on, do you have that hallway or that green room to do this stuff, or you literally stuck in a room where the show is going. Sometimes I have to, because I'm going through the list, I kind of have to ignore whoever's on stage. I try to shut them out, because otherwise I'm worried that sometimes I might get too involved in their set, go, oh my god, I'm loving it, and then forget my set. I remember their jokes, but I won't remember mine. And I'll be like, crap, that's not my bit. I just remembered, so-and-so's bit about whatever, about Pop-Tarts. And I'm like, crap, now all I'm thinking about is Pop-Tarts and tags about Pop-Tarts that I can, suggest. And then I'm like, crap, what about my joke? What was my bit? So I'm worried. That's one of those paranoia things that I have. I think I probably have more paranoia than actual superstitions or whatever. But he's like, no, I don't want to do that. I've
seen guys when they are in the same room as the performance. So for example, let's say it's there is no green room, or they don't want to go somewhere in the hallway or whatever. They would put on kind of noise canceling headphones, either play something on them or not, even just for silence, and then sit in that same corner and write and rewrite and, I don't know, cross out jokes and arrange the set just to kind of isolate themselves from the environment, because I guess it's so easy to get distracted, by anything in a club or in a bar, but especially if you try to listen to the material of another comic and you're like, oh, that's actually funny. Oh, I wish he said here another word here, or I wish he stopped there. And then you kind of spend their whole set analyzing their set or whatever, and you forget to work on yours, basically.
Yeah, exactly. So that can happen. But then sometimes I think that's good, because when you watch someone else's set, you can see, oh, the crowd's like this today. Like, oh, okay, this and that. So that can also be helpful. So that's kind of
I would say definitely it's good to watch the host, let's say. So just to catch when, especially if they're doing crowd work and trying to talk to the crowd to see, who's in the room, who is, who did they talk to, and you can have some kind of callback joke. Try to remember, your name is Peter and you are from Austria and you're here for the first time, like during the crowd work and hosting bit. And I would say watch at least the second part of the comic before you, because you then see, like, if they struggled and let's say bombed, then you probably have to bring some heavy artillery to the beginning of your set. If they, killed it and you just have to ride the wave, then it's also different. But so by that point, I think you should already, when it's like half of the set of the comedian before you, you should already be ready, like kind of, if you're not ready then nothing's going to save you, at least except bringing some, paper, script on the stage, if it's an open mic and it's your first time doing this material or something like this.
Yeah, absolutely. So there's that. Another thing I also used to do, now this is getting more into the making yourself feel confident sort of stuff before the show. So there's a couple of things I've sometimes done. Sometimes I'll drink coffee, or I'll drink Coca-Cola or Pepsi or whatever, some sort of cola, just to kind of get a bit of caffeine, get a bit of buzz going, especially if I'm not feeling like I'm particularly buzzed. But the problem with that, I think it's even worse. In the past, I used to try to have like 1 or 2 drinks of alcohol, like, 2 beers or two whiskey and cola or something like that, right? But I think that's always dangerous, because there have been times where, I don't know, like you have, maybe you haven't eaten lunch that day and those 2 drinks hit you quick and hard. And all of a sudden you're a bit too buzzy. And by then you lost yourself control. And you're like, fuck it, I'll have a third one. And by the end, before you're about to go on stage, you realize you're on drink number 4, and you're quite buzzed a little bit too much. And now you're like, oh shit, now I got to remember how the story goes, like the connections. Shit. So that can happen. Have you ever used alcohol or anything like that before shows? Like, do you used to or still do or anything like that? Any particular beverages?
Well, beverages?
Beverages. Or beverages. Yes.
Beverages.
Sorry, yes. I've had 3 drinks already, all right? Leave me alone.
Yeah, you've used some beverages, obviously, before this podcast to get you to relax. I think I've used 3 types of beverages before the show, before my performance or set. But not only beverages, but this I will give you an example of this in the end, and it's not what you think, and you'll be surprised what it is. But let me talk about
heroin.
Oh yes, it's heroin. You guessed it.
Okay,
God damn it! It was too easy, I guess. I was trying to make a mystery out of it.
So you.
Yeah. Right. So as for drinks, I use coffee. If I'm very, very, if I feel very sluggish, I feel very tired or sleepy or, something like this. I had a long day and it's Friday evening and I need to just, get a bit of a boost, wake up a bit and have that extra kick that caffeine can sometimes give you. But this was very rarely. Sometimes I would drink an energy drink like Red Bull or something. This is when I can't get my brain to work. So not when I'm like sleepy or tired, but sometimes you just have like, I just can't remember what it's just not quick enough. Like, my brain gets a bit also like tired or something, or
so this is your cocaine. Your methamphetamine.
Yeah, it's a wake up call for my brain. Yeah, it's just some kind of instant caffeine or sugar or taurine or whatever it's in all these horrible drinks that gives you a bit of a kick just before, for a short period of time. But it does, fire up my neurons and I'm able to remember my jokes better, be wittier, be faster on stage and stuff like this. So I remember one show that I did in Croatia, maybe 5-6 years ago. It was a 2-man show, and for the first time in a new city that I've never performed in, and the crowd was so amazing. Like before the show, they recognized us from the poster and stuff, and they would come up to us and introduce themselves and be like, oh, we can't wait to see this, oh, we're so excited, oh, we don't have English comedy so often. And it started becoming like I was glad that they did, but the pressure, it was building up the pressure, because we were like, okay, now what if we bomb now? All these people kind of, put their trust in us. So I think we had Red Bulls on the house, because I think they had some sponsorship with a Red Bull company or whatever. So I think I had like 4 or 5.
Oof.
The problem is I started having the first one maybe 2 hours. We came to the venue quite early because we were like, let's see the venue, do the mic check and everything, and then chill before the show. So I think I started with my first one maybe 2 hours before the show. So I had like, let's say 4 or 5 Red Bulls basically before the start of the show. And thank God I was going first, because exactly after I finished, maybe like 5 minutes later, I just burned out. And I was just ready to kind of sleep and die. I don't know, was it kind of the relief after stress and performance, and then I was finally calm enough to calm down, or was it all the Red Bulls have lost its power and I was, just basically dead instantly? But yeah, like 5 minutes after my performance, while the other guy was performing, I almost fell asleep on the chair in the back just listening to him, because I was done. I was so exhausted. So that's my first
and
thing,
he was boring as shit.
Yeah, and he was horrible. Yeah, not funny at all. So it's a shame I had to open for him, but here we are. Then the other one is alcohol. Yeah, I like to have a beer or something, a couple of beers maybe before the show, not because it's an instrument of something, not to benefit the show. It's just when I'm in a bar, I like to have a beer,
Yeah.
The problem is sometimes if it's a particularly horrible show or a particularly fun show. So either of these, when it's a boring or bad show, so it's a bad vibe, bad crowd, something, I could have more than 1 or 2 beers. If I have 1 or 2 beers, I'm perfectly fine. It's just, it doesn't really do anything. It doesn't relax me or something, put me in the mood, but it doesn't also slow me down or make me like forget my jokes or something like this. But if I have 3, 4 and more, it can. So it has happened that by the time I was about to close the show or something, I was pretty buzzed, like quite tipsy. And I would come on stage and be like, blah, blah, blah. Well, not like this, obviously, but I would mispronounce some words or forget my joke. Or I think it was visible that I was tipsy. And also audience does not like it, because it's quite, to be fair, it's quite unprofessional. And, it's not something I'm proud of, but it has happened maybe 2-3 times in my like 8 years of performing that I just misjudged. Sometimes even those 2 ones can be deadly if you haven't eaten, if you're tired or sleepy or something. So, but yeah, that has happened as well, that the alcohol was an enemy rather than an ally.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I was saying before. Yeah, that's happened to me. And even like when I'm doing a set, and my problem is like when you go last or whatever, and you're just sitting there and you're just waiting for your time to rise. So you have a beer, then you have another one, and you don't realize that you've just had too many or whatever. And then or maybe there's particularly strong beers, and you're like, oh crap. And you feel yourself getting buzzed and you're like, oh no. Because the other thing I've also had is where you go, okay, I can feel myself getting buzzed. I've still got some time. Stop drinking and, calm it down. And then you have the crash afterwards as well. You just have I just want to go to bed, man. So that can happen as well. So yeah, I would say like anyone who's thinking about using alcohol to just calm my nerves and just, get into, because I'm funny when I drink and stuff like that, that is dangerous. And actually the 1 year that I did last year, completely dry, no alcohol whatsoever, I've got to say was fantastic for, I think, my comedy, because it got me on how to get into the zone in a way without using alcohol, or convincing myself that alcohol was necessary. I totally sober, had some of my best shows. So it was like, come up with some of my best material without touching a drop of alcohol all year. So it was like, yeah, I can do it without it. Like I know in the past I would take a couple of drinks while I was creating the bits on my balcony, because you're using that kind of that drunken, hazy mind, memory or perspective or whatever to create. So that was helpful. However, it's not necessary. That's what I discovered. I can do it without it perfectly fine. I'm not saying I now refuse to drink and when I come up with my bits. No, I mean, if I want, I can. But I also know that, no, I don't have to. Sometimes what I actually like to do is I come up with the initial bit completely sober. Then when I'm rerunning it through, maybe I've had a couple of drinks, I do it in a really relaxed way, come up with silly ideas, and then edit it completely sober. You know what I mean?
For me, that first, let's say 1 beer or 2 beers maximum, but let's say 1 beer, sometimes it helps, I would say, in a psychological way rather than in a actual physical way that it relaxes you or whatever. It's just kind of, it's time for me to gather my thoughts. I sit down, I sip on my beer, and I just silently in my head maybe go through my material or try to read the room, see who's there, or in some way, or sometimes I have that beer and I'm like, if it's, for example, a bad show, or it's looking like it's gonna be a bad show or something like this, I have a beer and I'm like, fuck it, I came out, I had a beer, my night, has been, it's been worth it. So now whatever happens. It also, let's say, releases that stress or pressure that I have to be amazing on stage. I'm like, okay, I dressed up, I came out, I saw my friends, had a beer. So,
got my pumped up kicks. It's all good.
Yeah. That can be also a factor. But one thing that was a ritual and was, let's say, a substance that I was using before shows, and trust me on this, it's maybe for younger people, because now I'm reaching my mid-30s and I don't think that my body would agree with this ritual anymore. But this was 6-7 years ago when I was still in my kind of mid to late 20s, but a young man burning calories fast, living a fast-paced life in a big city. So it worked for me. Basically what it was is, for a period of time, I was regularly hosting a Friday night show at a bar that does English stand-up. So it was like Funny Friday with Igor Monday, like a themed show, some kind of late night show. And it consisted of 4 segments, basically. There was an improv show, then there was a stand-up show, then there was a live concert, and then a DJ who was also me, just spinning some records, baby. I had to, the main thing was to be, let's say, focused, sharp, witty during that hour of stand-up, because I was hosting it week to week. I knew a lot of the audience, I knew a lot of the comics, and it could get stale if I'm not, on the top of my game. So if I'm not my best self. So how I discovered accidentally, it happened maybe 2-3 weeks by accident, and then I realized that maybe there's something there. I went to KFC. I ordered a big bucket of greasy chicken with a large Pepsi. And that would be, the show was at 9, that would be around like 8:30. And from KFC, there was maybe 5-7 minute walk to the venue. So what happened was, I would eat all this greasy, sugary shit. No offense to KFC, please support us on Patreon. But objectively, greasy, sugary foods, right? And in approximately 30 minutes, when that hit my bloodstream, I was so pumped. Really, my brain was just firing fireworks with synapses and neurons just at work. I really remember, I would come there and I couldn't wait for the show to start. I was so pumped and basically jumping and shaking. I'm like, let's go. Like sugar, proper sugar rush, but it was sugar and calories and stuff. Let's go. Let's start. Let me perform. I'll go out. I'll kill. I would go on stage. People would see that, level of energy or something, get aboard, and the crowd work, the banter, everything would work perfectly. So it was my ritual for, 3-4 months, I think. Every Friday, I would go have a meal at KFC and then go do the show.
Right. Okay. Yeah. But you're right. It's the sugar. It's the processing those fats that they become sugar, calories, things like that, and it gives you the energy boost. It's a quick release energy. It's the same things with the caffeines, the coffees, all that sort of stuff. It's the things that we do to give ourselves a bit of buzz. And obviously we're just way too poor for cocaine. This was what we should have been using. That's what all the really famous ones would use, or speed, whatever. Yeah, no, that's actually a good point. Yeah, some sort of stuff. I mean, maybe gummy bears these days. Maybe some gummy bears you can use. Maybe, I don't know.
I'm sorry. Right. Yes, when next time I'll do a stand-up show in a kindergarten, maybe I'll use some gummy bears.
Yeah.
What the fuck are you talking about? Do you mean LSD?
Oh, that's what was in the gummy bears. That's why they were awesome. My surrealist shows really took on a different perspective. Anyway, that's one. Now, you said before about psychological stuff. Some people have, good luck charms or psychology. I know in the past what I used to do was I used to write down, like I said, I wrote down my bit in note form. So it was in simple catch words or keywords down a list. I used to write them on a piece of paper, and then I used to fold it up and stick it in my pocket.
Oh, thank God you said pocket.
Yeah. Yeah. Most times. I had it.
You mean your prison pocket?
Yeah.
All right.
The nature's
trunk.
pocket. Yeah, nature's trunk. Yeah.
Nature's trunk, yeah. Oh, shit, yours is a trunk. Mine is a pocket, but I see that you can fit a lot of junk in that trunk.
Oh, yes, yes. So I used to carry this piece of paper with me, and it was in my pocket, so it was useless. Like, but it was just the safety net of if I got really stuck, I could pull it out, open it up, and see it there. But the thing is, because I'd written it in such a very basic form, I could visualize it. So it was in my pocket. I could feel it in there, but I just had to visualize it. And I could see the words written on the piece of paper. It was like my safety net, and it kind of gave me that whole, like, no matter what, I can always find my way. So
well, that's like any studying technique, I guess, when you're writing the things you need to remember, not for the purpose of cheating or something, you're preparing, like it happened to me a lot in my student days. You'd prepare like a cheat sheet, like you write all the lectures or something on a piece of paper that you're like, oh, if I forget some answer, I can pull out this piece of paper. And then you realize while you were writing it, you remembered it, because basically that's the technique. But yeah, what about, so if we talk about some kind of psychological preparation or using some, external influences, like some foods, beverages, and so on. But what about some physical preparation? Have you done any of those?
No, I don't think I really have, other than walking, like, walking in a circle or just pacing. I'm a pacer. I'm a
pacer
big
as well. I feel you, brother.
Yeah. So pacing will usually help me, like the walking and thinking helps me, but nothing in particular. However, you have told me of a former colleague of ours who does have a very specific sort of ritual. Would you care to share?
Well, I don't think it's very specific, but it worked for him definitely, because in those situations that I just mentioned, for me, when it was, for example, I'm tired or I'm a bit low on energy or I'm just a bit anxious and stressed about the show, so you have to somehow get the blood pumping and you get yourself in the mood and the zone. What he would do is backstage or wherever kind of space away from the eyes of the audience was available, he would do around 20 push-ups, just like really fast, like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And that would, the adrenaline and that rush that the body would produce, like, he would get a bit kind of red in the cheeks, the blood rush, he would get a bit like sweaty, a bit like, I don't know, puffy of all this like physical exercise, because he wasn't some kind of athlete or, in his prime physical condition at that point. So it was also a bit, tiresome for him to do it. But exactly that would get his heart and blood pumping, and then he would just run on stage and again have that kind of jumpy energy that, like, I just woke up, my whole body, I kind of shook it and I am now ready for this. And people really kind of get on board, and that energy, they pick up on that energy and it just spreads along the room. So I remember him doing that several times, even when we were traveling and performing. I remember the show, it was Wednesday evening, and one comic, actually three of us, it was 5 people on tour. We flew in a day before, so we slept there, then one flew in that morning, and then this guy, basically it was Wednesday, the show was on a Wednesday, he worked till 6 or whatever, then he got on a plane, flew for 2 hours. Thank God, due to time difference, he was still there by 9 to do the show. So basically he came, like, he landed, he got a cab, he gave the address of the comedy club, and he was there like 5 minutes before his set was up. So basically, he came there, he went into the green room, changed or whatever, took his jacket off, like threw his backpack in the corner, did 20 push-ups and went on stage and killed. So, because otherwise he would just, if he sat down, he would fall asleep, because he was just exhausted from the trip and the jet lag and everything. So it definitely works. I'm not sure it works for everyone, because if I did 20 push-ups, I would just die. That's it. I'd just die. Like I would, I would not be able to tell jokes for the next 20 minutes because I would be out of breath and just, exhausted. But
and I would need someone to explain what a push-up is to me. So and then it'd be all that, the learning curve. By the time I figured it out, the show's over. People are going home, and I'm like, fuck, I missed my bit.
And they're like, wait, is that our headliner doing some kind of push-ups in the corner?
Trying
Weird.
to do push-ups? Is he trying to do
Is
something?
he watching a YouTube tutorial on push-ups? What?
Exactly. So that's I always thought it was a good one. Like when I heard about it, I was like, actually, that makes a lot of sense. Like just getting that blood moving, revving it around, and all the rest. Yeah, I think that's a really good idea. Do you know anyone else with any other funky rituals?
Well, I saw people, and I'm amazed by. I think this is just pure professionalism and probably years in the business and experience and this kind of confidence and stuff. But I'm amazed when I see people who can just turn it on. They just like snap their fingers and that's it. They're now a stage ready comedian, and I saw this as well also on one of the shows I've done with a touring comic. So I think he just came from Germany at that point or Amsterdam or something. He came that day in the afternoon for a show in the evening, and he was stuck in a traffic jam or something on the border for like 3 hours in a car with no AC on like plus 40 degrees and stuff. And I came to the club a bit earlier, like maybe an hour and a half before the show. The doors opened, let's say 30 minutes before the show. So for an hour, it was just me, him, and some bar staff there. And yeah, he told me this story, how he's like super exhausted, has a super strong headache, probably sunstroke as well, after spending like 3 hours in a car with no AC under the direct sunlight. And basically then, I don't know, 10 minutes before the show, he has a tall glass of water with ice, just kind of, a little bit like smacks his cheeks and goes like, okay, let's do this. And the guy's stage ready. And he turns from a person that was sitting there, really kind of dying, just kind of, oh my God, my head hurts. Oh, I'm so tired. Oh, could I take a nap now? Do I have 20 minutes? This and that, just being a person to just like being a performer, professional in like a minute, and without any, like tools, props, whatever, rituals, just okay, now I do my job. That's it. And I think, that's some kind of professionalism, I would say, and confidence in yourself and your set. And, but I've seen that on a few different examples, few different people I worked with, where the same, like Jim Gaffigan, right? The same thing. Like I was hanging out with him in the green room before the show started when we had him here, and he was also like, he just flew in. I think it took him 12 hours on a plane, and also he flew in something at like 5 a.m. So basically, he checked into a hotel and slept till 5 p.m, and the show was like at 7 or 9 that evening. So the man just woke up, took a 20-minute walk around the city, and came to the club. And you could see, and he's not a young man, not to, call him like an elderly person or something, but he's not a young man. Plus, he's a father of 5 kids, and shit must be exhausting, right? So that's why you could see that the man is tired, and you could see it in the green room. You could see that he's just tired. When he stepped on the stage, you could see none of that. There was not a person in the room that could say, that man is tired, or that man is not ready for the show, or something. Nothing. Completely switched it on and was fully kind of fresh, energetic, professional. So
I think that's a big difference. I think that's where, like, I think I'm still very affected by my day and things like that, and I think the pros are the ones where it doesn't. They can be going through a divorce, and they will still get up on stage and perform with the same enthusiasm, and like it just won't get to them. I think that's because they've hit another level.
I think when you give this example, you say like it's the worst thing in the world. Like they could be going through a divorce, but it's only the worst thing in the world if you are Chris Rock, or who else was it that their wife took basically half of their. I thought that's what divorce was. I thought it was Latin for half. I mean, it's I'm not sure about the origin of the term, but
I'm kidding,
only if you're going through such a divorce, maybe when you or some kind of emotionally painful divorce. But I'm sure that some people are happy when they finally reach the divorce stage, and,
Maybe.
you know, when they're in their freedom is spending. So, but the way you say it, you know, like, oh, some people perform even if they're going through a divorce. You know,
Well,
like
no,
it's
but
the worst
the
thing in the
process,
world.
even if it's a positive thing, like going through it is still not a fun thing. Like even if it's like, oh my God, free liberation, but still dealing with the lawyers, going all that, having to discuss things, you know, there is going to be like, even if it is a positive, there's still going to be the whole, wow, that messed up. Like I think for most people, I think the majority of people, divorce is not a great, fun thing. You know, it's not like someone goes, oh my God, I cannot wait to get married so I can get divorced again. That was so awesome. Like awesome fun.
I mean, some people, well, obviously they don't plan the divorce when they get married, but they do say, I can't wait to get divorced so I can get married again. That's the
But
first
that's what
thing.
I mean. That's the normal. The marriage is the fun part.
Well, yeah, but I mean, okay, not to go too deep into your definition of the worst thing that's happening in your life, and you still have to do comedy, but I would say something like, I don't know, cancer or whatever.
I think even there's some stuff that even a professional would be like, you know what? No, I am not going on stage. You know, someone, if they lost a child, for example, I don't think any comedian will be. I think the person, if someone were to still get up on stage and be cracking jokes after they've just lost it, I'd be like, there is something wrong with you. Like that is not healthy. Right? Like
Don't know.
I'm not saying the worst thing, but I'm just saying a bad thing, like a pretty damn bad thing that most people would not find enjoyable. I think a professional comedian can kind of, you know, go over that. Like it's a job for them. It's some work that they're doing. It's not just a hobby at that point. Like, you know, they've reached a level of professionalism where no matter, like most things in life would not faze them from doing their job and fulfilling their commitments, you know. Only something really, really bad, absolutely horrible, would completely destroy them. And that's what I mean, like you were saying before, like being tired, being exhausted, for them, that's like a minor thing that gets in the way. It's like they can switch it on for the next 30 minutes or the next hour and then go off. It's like people at work even. Like if you're really good at your job, even on a bad, tired day, sometimes you just go nut and you just force yourself, you push it, you get it out, and you still do it. And then you go home and you collapse.
Well, I mean, not to say that it's a hard job or whatever, but it's a similar comparison. I don't know, professional sportsmen, footballers, you know, no one's going to ask you, are you tired today, or do you miss your mom today, or something like, are you divorcing your wife today? If there is a game to be played, you play the game. You know what I mean? It's just, you turn it on and you do your job. At the end of the day, if you're doing it seriously and professionally, that's what's expected from you. It's a guarantee. It's an agreement between you and the audience, you and the venue, you and the organizer, that you will come and do your job. But so what would be some kind of maybe ideas or recommendations you could give our listeners if they are aspiring or already active comedians and they're looking for some ways to, you know, for ways to prepare for the show, for ways to get them in that right mindset zone, and to, you know, maximize any kind of preparation or whatever they can before the show and before their set actually starts?
Yeah, I would say be careful of alcohol and stimulants of any kind, whether legal or illegal. Be careful with them because it's easy to misjudge. But they can be helpful. They can be useful, especially like you were saying before with the Red Bull and things, like, you know, on dead nights, you just like stuff it. I need something quick, hard, bang. So, you know, they can be helpful, but they're not necessary. And I think getting to the point where you can do it without is even better. Like, you know, if you can train yourself, and that's it. I think it's also training. I think a lot of times like those, just having that piece of paper in your pocket or eating that KFC and things like that. Some of it could be just psychological. Or another thing I've noticed comedians doing, like, you know, writing bits on their hand, you know, that whole, where they look at their hand so they know what the next bit is. And some comedians have it written there, but they never look at it. But it's still just the fact that they have it there. Part of that is the ritual, and a ritual can be something
safety net. I think it's also it's part of like, I should do it because I always do it, and it's like I should do it because I might need it. I don't want to, and I don't expect it to, but in case I do, it's right there. And that knowing that is also a part of that. It's a calming factor, you know.
Exactly. And the same thing like sports people who, you know, wear the same socks, or they always do certain things before, like, you know, they might touch their locker 5 times with their left hand and give it a kick with their right foot. I don't know. But like that sort of thing, it puts them in that frame of mind, and that's where meditation and stuff like that, everyone has their own things. I think part of for Gleb would have been there with the push-ups. Part of it was psychological as well, not just the physical blood pump, but just the physical, the fact that he did these push-ups, he felt a little bit stronger, he probably felt a little bit more confident, and it just added a little bit of a boost to him. It gave a boost to his ego to an extent. So I think that is also the other thing. So yeah, you just do what it takes to get yourself into that frame of mind, whether that's meditation, whether that's running through your bits or whatever. It's about you finding your own thing, and at the same time being prepared to then break those things. Like, do it without the alcohol, do it without the push-up, and realize, I still can do it. Knowing that you can always be combat ready in a way, like, be work ready, be able to jump up like that guy, tall glass of water, whatever it takes to freshen you up. Maybe that was his ritual. Maybe you didn't know, but maybe he always has a tall, icy cold glass of water before he goes on stage. Maybe that's his thing, possibly.
Maybe, could be.
Yeah, and that just freshens him up and gives him that little sort of thing. You never know. So yeah, I would say whatever works for you psychologically, as long as it's not hurting anyone else, as long as it's not, slapping people across the face other than your own, then I'd be
imagine,
dude,
imagine that's your pre-show ritual. You just go around and slap a comedian. Yeah, I think basically whatever makes you most comfortable and confident in your material and your performance, because I would say that show preparation starts not at the start of the show, not when you reach the venue or on your way when you're going through your potential jokes and material. I think even something like the choice of your outfit fits into that, because sometimes I really feel it like if I don't care enough to like dress up or something, I just put on the first thing I find. It's also the attitude I have towards my set, let's say, because I consider it, okay, I'll just go, I'll perform and whatever, it's not like something. But when it's when I dress well, when I like how I'm dressed, it kind of also projects some confidence, and that's also something that audience picks up on, and I think it can help you. So if you feel comfortable in the way you look, because the whole room will see you on that stage. So no matter what is it, a haircut, whatever, an outfit, I don't know,
for me, it's a jacket.
Whatever it is.
For me, it's a jacket.
Gives you confidence.
Sometimes I have two particular jackets that I like to wear. One is my Piccadilly jacket. I think it's a bit working class. It's a bit rough. It's it's kind of an old school sort of home. It looks homemade-ish sort of thing. So it kind of has a rustic Piccadilly. Kind of reminds me of like dog races or horse races.
Your hobo jacket.
Yeah, I love it, and it puts me in the mood. I for some reason that works really well. I feel like it's a real entertainer's jacket, but like cheap entertainer. Like step right up. All right, a bit of fun, a bit working class. I love it for that reason, and it gets me into that mood. I can be a bit more of a geezer, I suppose. Like when I wear the jacket, like I'm a bit more cheeky, I'm a bit more whatever. The other one I like is my blue jacket that I bought my new suit from when I got married, and because I think it's sleeker, it's nice and blue, it's shiny, so it puts me in the very more upper class kind of like high class entertainment feeling. So I really enjoyed those two jackets, I noticed. And I realized like when I did the semifinals, I was wearing the blue jacket and I just felt really on top of it. And then I can't remember what I wore for my finals, but I felt like it wasn't professional enough. And I just didn't feel quite as good, I noticed. Like, I'm like, I should have worn that jacket again. That was... Because I was feeling very, very slick.
No one's stopping you from having like a uniform. There are many stand-ups who wear exactly the same outfit, or let's say the same style of outfit, whatever they do, whatever show they do. So it's kind of their
Some
thing,
people
their
go
brand,
the opposite.
their image.
Yeah, it was that. Oh God, I just forgot his name right now. But there's this particular British comedian. He had his own show. Blondie. Anyway, but he always wears a t-shirt and like these jeans sort of thing, but a white t-shirt, or he's wearing those 70s style t-shirts, with the green sleeves but grey middle. Anyway, but the point is, it's a very laddish sort of thing. But then when he gets on stage, he's the guy that he's the charming guy that you'd expect to meet at the pub. He's like, hey, how's it going? Blah blah blah, and it's just. It suits him. It's him, and he always wears that sort of outfit. And
sounds to me like Russell Howard, but
yes,
I might be wrong.
Yes. No, that's him. That's it. Yeah, Russell Howard. Perfect. Yeah, because I saw the documentary of them, and I thought, yeah, that's his look. The only thing was, I was like, all right, he's about my age, maybe even a little bit older, and I'm just like,
he's not your age, mate. Sorry to burst your bubble. No,
I think he's a little bit. Well, he's around my age.
No, I
He's
think
in his 40s.
Well, you are now 43, I want to say.
Yeah.
I think he might be maybe 39, 40, but maybe I'm mistaken. Oh, yeah, he's 41. My bad.
So the thing was,
Just,
and I was
just
like,
in much
okay.
much better shape, so I didn't.
Oh yeah, he is fitter, much fitter than I am. He obviously does push-ups before he goes on stage, but he was still wearing like these t-shirts, and I'm just sort of like, I wonder if he's going to be in his 50s. When I was watching this show, I was like, I wonder if he's going to be in his 50s still wearing these like t-shirts that like a 20-something-year-old would wear. But it does fit his persona. But at the same time, like, how long can you get away with this laddish persona, like the football player sort of, down at the park sort of thing with his skater shoes or his runners and his jeans? And I'm like, interesting. I was thinking the same thing about me, because right now, like, I like wearing skater shoes sort of thing. That style. I just got a new pair for my birthday. So I like wearing that with like maybe a pair of jeans and a jacket sort of thing. So I guess, that's sort of like mixing up the stand-up comic look. But it is the look. It is a thing, because like, the shoes keep you feeling youthful, whatever. I'm just like Jerry Seinfeld always has his sneakers.
Don't forget the age-old wisdom. He was a skater boy. She said, "See you later, boy."
Yeah, and that's what I mean. At one point,
be careful when you wear them Vans.
Yeah. Yes, I must. But yeah, so you're right. I think clothing also can help you psychologically. And like other comedians, they wear hoodies. They're really into their hoodies and things like that. Why? Because it makes them feel comfortable. Ricky Gervais has basically said he's not going to wear a suit on stage when he does his comedy shows. He wears like, almost like tracksuit pants or something, and he's it's about comfort.
Like black t-shirt, trainers, sneakers, whatever you want to call them, and just jeans or like some kind of comfortable pants, and that's just his look. CK wore the same thing for quite a long time. Then suddenly he came out with a special where he's wearing like a suit and tie, remember? Mm-hmm. So people are like, wait, what? Louis CK in a suit? But yeah. On the other hand, we have Jimmy Carr, who's always in like a three-piece suit, and that's his style and his persona and image. So if that boosts your confidence and if it looks right for you, that can also be a part of that preparation.
And I think that's kind of the thing as well. Like, for example, another comedian I really like, Greg Proops, he has his three-piece suits always with the vests and the whole thing. But he's got a little bit of the wildish blondie hair, and he's got like the glasses that he's wearing that's kind of like this nerdy style. So he's sort of like the kind of slightly eccentric, the way he speaks, the very verbose nature. So he's sort of like this kind of academic, funny, sort of verbose, smart ass. It just fits it perfectly. So I think it also depends on what you're going for. Like, also, is it part of your image? Is it part of your thing? And that can help you in your mind get into the zone. And I think this, at the end of the day, this is what we're talking about with rituals. It's all about getting in the zone, really. How do you get yourself in the zone as quick as possible? And what can you do? And, certain things that you might do that get you into the zone. I mean, is there anything that you won't do before getting up on stage?
There are many things I won't do before coming up on stage. I don't know. I won't, suck someone's dick just to get up on stage. Like there are many things that I would say no to in my life and in that particular situation as well. But I wanted to ask, maybe to wrap up actually this discussion, as we're talking about things that can help you. And we mentioned some of them. Some are physical, some are psychological, some are like, just 5 minutes before you go on stage, like do some push-ups. Some are like preparation a few days ago, writing some sets, preparing or repeating on the balcony, choosing your outfit and so on and so forth, writing jokes on a little piece of paper that you can put in your pocket or in your hand, learning the script by pacing in the hallway before the show. Many of these things. But would you say that they are actually helpful? That it's like good to do those things, that it's advice that you would give to comedians? Or do you think it's a crutch? Because if it happens that you one day cannot perform without having a beer or without having a little piece of paper with your jokes in your pocket and checking your notes maybe on your phone or on your hand, if you cannot perform without carefully selecting your outfit or having that perfect three-piece suit on, is it a crutch maybe?
Well, I think it can be. This is where you end up with sports people who, if they don't have their lucky charm or whatever the hell they have, or they don't do something, all of a sudden they're like, I'm going to have a shit game. And psychologically, it messes them up. So I think it can be easily a crutch. And this is why I said before, it's good to break them sometimes and to force yourself to break them, to realize that they are just a crutch. I mean, they're handy and it's great. I mean, that's why I think like the push-ups is easy to do. You don't need any equipment. You don't need anything. You just need you. So I think that sort of stuff is okay. Like if you want to do like, a little bit of meditation zone, all you need is a quiet place then. But then some people might be able to do it without it being that quiet. You just close your eyes and just, say a mantra or something. This is where like, the alcohol, like, hey, if you're performing in a dry country, for example, like a place that doesn't sell alcohol or a place, then, oh shit, if that's been your crutch, you're in trouble. It depends. Like I would say don't get too reliant on them though. It's always good to try to break it every so often. That's why that year without alcohol for me was great, because it showed me I really did not need that. That was absolutely unnecessary. But if I want to use it, I can. I just got to make sure I do it well.
So you would say basically the conclusion would be, if it does help you, then use it, but don't become dependent on it.
Yeah, don't get addicted to it.
Yeah, so don't be like, okay, today I wore my unlucky shoes, so I'm not going to perform, or just psych yourself out and put yourself in the mindset of, oh, I'm going to bomb today because I didn't, pace for 20 minutes before the show, reciting my jokes in my head, or whatever it is, the thing you do, had a Red Bull or had 2 beers or something like this.
Yeah.
All right.
I think it's handy to have a couple of rituals at the very least then.
That's another option. Right. So if you have some kind of rituals before you do shows, if you're a comedian, if you want to know a bit more about us and our rituals, or any other things that we might answer and discuss and address in our future episodes, feel free to leave us a comment or shoot us a direct message on any of our social media where the Comedy Kiosk is present. Just look for the Comedy Kiosk on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, or donate to Patreon. So we would just have money as a pre-show ritual. Just money.
That'd be a great ritual. I think the best rituals for everyone to start putting onto Patreon. That's a great ritual just to start the day.
Yeah, help us out with our shows, to get in the right zone. It's easy to get in the right mindset if you just have money. So help us with that if you can. If not, you can share this podcast, recommend it to people that might be interested in comedy. And thank you so much for listening. I've been Igor Monday.
And I've been David Munoz. Good night. Ciao.